T.B.D. To be determined.
Welcome to T.B.D. Well, how's your Saturday going to go? How's your weekend turning out? That's still to be determined. But with a little help from our Belly Up Sports crew, you're going to make some money. You're going to cash some tickets, and you never know. You never know. Let's start with Mo. Welcome to Something's Got to Give with Mo from the Mo Radio Show, where we look at games that, you know what, then maybe one team's, they're both winners, or they're both losers, or they're both going over, they're both going under, and something's got to give. However, this week is pretty exciting for us college football fans because of the fact that it's the opening week of college football. But I would imagine next week when we're talking the NFL, Mo, you're going to be pretty happy.
Yeah, I mean, just thinking about it now gives me goosebumps. I can't wait till next Thursday when the NFL season officially kicks off.
All right, so let's talk about what we're looking at this week. Now, if you watch our Thursday show, Sports Betting Weekly, there's like 166 teams playing. There's like 83
right.
games. There's like 15 games at 4 o'clock Pacific time, 7 o'clock, 7:30 Eastern time. But we've kind of narrowed it down to 3 games. And what we're looking at is those games that have the ability to say, you know what, if I look at the sports data, it's a coin flip. But when you have second sets of eyeballs, so again, if somebody's covered 7 straight games at home and somebody's covered 7 straight games on the road and they're playing at that field, at the home field, something's got to give. So talk to us. What's the first game we're looking at?
First, we're looking at Oklahoma and Tulane, and it's a game that obviously has been moved because of Hurricane Ida. So, that puts Tulane a little bit behind the 8 ball from the get-go. You're looking at a team now that will be playing in Norman, Oklahoma. You're looking at an Oklahoma team that has probably its clearest shot at a national championship in probably 15 years. The Heisman favorite plays in Norman once again, another quarterback in Spencer Rattler. They've got one of the top receivers in the game. So you're looking at a team that's pretty darn good. But, I mean, this Tulane team is a pretty darn good young team. I mean, they've got a coach that's won a lot of different places. They've got a pretty darn good quarterback there as well. But if it wasn't going to be a tough game for Tulane playing at home, now having to go to Norman and play is going to be really, really tough for them. Here's the thing, though. You're looking at a game now because it's been moved that is about 31.5 points. And you always have to ask yourself when you get to a point spread that big, is that something that you want to gamble on? Because there were times last year where Oklahoma was just flat out terrible. They were terrible on offense. They were terrible on defense. And, this is a young, talented Tulane team. So you're looking at 31.5 going, wow, is that something I'm going to put my money on? I think it's been a bad week for those students there at Tulane. I think there's a lot more for them to think about than other than the football game, having to have the game moved, having to move out, from where they are at their university. A lot, no power in New Orleans. So for one of the few times that I do it, I'm going to take Oklahoma and lay 31.5 points.
Yeah, Tulane over the last 2 or 3 years has been very, very tough at home. There's no doubt about it. And like you said, we're not talking about, they did it for the money. A lot of times teams will say, yeah, sure, we'll go play there because you're going to sell out. Your stadium's 30,000 people bigger than our stadium. And a cut of that money is more than we would make doing it here. So, but that's not this situation. And it's a horrible situation. And this storm, the storm keeps giving. We saw what New York was like at the end of the week. It was just crazy. So your heart and prayers go out to all those people because it is just a football game. That being said, both of those programs are pretty big into football. We know New Orleans loves their football, and really in Oklahoma, is there anything less, right? That's it. What else they got besides football?
Yeah, I mean, really, and then you look at athletes are creatures of habit. They have rituals come game day, and you're looking at a Tulane team now for guys that are used to those rituals that are going to have to maybe have had to change things up this week. So, I think it's an unenviable task for the Tulane Green Wave. That's why I'm laying a lot of points. Normally, these are the type of games, regardless of who these big time programs are playing, that I stay away from, just because the point spread is so much and it takes an off day from your quarterback and things are going sideways. So this is one of those ones, though, I think because of the circumstances, I'm going to take Oklahoma and lay the 31.5.
Yeah, again, on paper, that should be an easy 35 to cover. Technically, if the talent that they're supposed to have at Oklahoma does what they're supposed to do, they could be covering that in the first half, right?
Right. I mean, you're looking at the number 2 team in the country, but again, remember last year Spencer Rattler struggled, and this Oklahoma offense struggled at times. And there was just games that they were flat out just terrible. So, I mean, it's a little concerning. But I think that Oklahoma wants to go out and prove that they're number 2 ranking, that they're worthy of it. And again, remember, this is the one sport really where teams need to drive up the score in order to try to move up in those polls and get ready for when it comes bowl championship time. So this is one of those times where, teams don't tend to have mercy on other teams. They continue to run that score up, so they have those large point spread wins for when it's time for the polls to come out.
There's no doubt about that. So when we get back, we're going to look at a couple games that are kind of head scratchers where something's got to give here on To.B.D.
EasySportsData.com. The books use data. Shouldn't you too? And this is easy sports data, like the preschoolers use. EasySportsData.com.
Welcome back to Something's Gotta Give on To.B.D. Determined. We're always joined by Mo from the Mo Radio Show. Now, Mo, one thing about these games at the first week of the NCAA is you get those big point spreads like we talked about. But the Indiana-Iowa game, we've had a long history, 3-4 years where Indiana has been playing some big teams and playing them tough, especially those Buckeyes. What do you see in this game?
Well, it's an Indiana team that's coming off a very successful 2020 campaign. They lost their quarterback for the last few games of the year to the ACL tear and Michael Penix. And, they've got guys returning who are star receivers, star tight ends, and they were actually able to go out and take some graduate players and get some big-time recruits to this football program. So I think in all the years of Indiana football, this may be the most exciting time that the Hoosiers have ever had when it comes to the football game. Now, Iowa is always a tough team. Kirk Ferentz has been the head coach of Iowa for years and years and years, but Tom Allen has done incredible things with this Indiana team. Not only did Indiana score a lot of points last year on offense, they were also a top 20 scoring defense. So they're a defense that can not only make the turnover, but also score quickly on those turnovers. So I like this Indiana team a lot. We're expecting big things from them this year. So not only am I taking IU in the points, I also took IU big on the money line. So I like this IU team. Again, you're looking at a team, in their last 8 games, 8-0 against the spread. They're a team that's only lost one time against the spread on the road in their last 8. So, I mean, how do you go against this Indiana team? I know they're at Iowa. I know Iowa's always a tough team with a tough defense, but this Indiana team, is exciting. And, they were a couple plays away from knocking off Ohio State last year. So, I like them going into Iowa. I don't know that Iowa will be able to keep the tempo up with them on offense. So that's going to have to be Iowa's game is running the football, controlling the clock. But Indiana can score and score quick, both on offense and defense. So I'm taking IU plus the points and taking them big on the money line.
Yeah, that's plus 165. And that over-under is 46.5. And if you think about how low that is, that's the one thing Iowa's not going to beat you by outscoring you, not usually.
No, I mean, they're a team that controls the clock. They pound the ball, and they are a stifling defense. They like to do those 4 and outs quickly. But again, it's not only is this Indiana team an exciting team that's gotten a lot better, but they've got a quarterback coming back that wants to prove some things from his injury. And they're a team, again, that because of the rules last year with the COVID shortened season, they honestly should have been playing for a Big Ten championship, and then the Big Ten changed the rules and Ohio State made it in, and that's another story. But it's an exciting time, in the Hoosier State here, because it's been a long time since IU football has been the talk of the school.
That's so cool to hear. And now, one of the biggest games early in the season you've seen in a while, Georgia and Clemson. What do you see there?
Well, you're talking about two teams that, want to stake their claim to a national championship. Clemson at number 3, Georgia at 5. They're both teams with good quarterbacks. Clemson's starting a new era. They've lost a lot of guys to the NFL. Trevor Lawrence obviously starting for the Jaguars. They've lost a lot of guys on offense. And Georgia's a team too that lost 3/4 of their secondary to the NFL. So they're a team that's had to rebuild, but they do have a familiar face in Tyke Smith, who's coming back to that secondary. It's hard to bet against Dabo Swinney. Both of these guys, Kirby Smart and Dabo Swinney, are fantastic recruiters. They've both got big classes. They've been able to replace their stars who go to the NFL every single year and still be up towards the top. For me, Georgia hasn't taken that step to prove to me over the last 4 or 5 years that they can win that big game. Will Clemson be the first one? I don't think so. I think that Clemson pulls this out. I think it's going to be a close game. The 3 points is scary. It's one of those ones where you really want to see a 2.5, because then to me it makes it a no-brainer. Clemson's given 3. I'm going to take Clemson, but I also like this game. I think for the over, where the over set at 50.5, and I think that I'm going to like the over. I don't know that the defenses are going to put down both of these powerful offenses. Now, every now and again we get a clunker of a game. We get a 6-3 or a 10-7 when two big teams get together. But I just think that these offenses are going to be ready to go out and be unleashed pretty quick. So I'm going to take Clemson. I'm going to lay the 3, and I'm going to take the over in this football game.
That's funny because the Clemson money line is -155. So when you look at football, -155, that's a pretty big favorite. But after spending the summer watching baseball pitchers go off at -320
right,
and -290, -155, it's a relative free money if you like that team.
Yeah, it is. And again, Georgia is another fun young team with a good quarterback who's got another year of experience under his belt. I'm waiting for Georgia to win that big game when they're supposed to. They cruise through the season most times, but it comes, big game time, and they seem to crack at the end and lose by a few points. And hopefully it'll be 4 points come this weekend.
There you go. Your math skills have not diminished since last football season. All right, so next weekend, though, how exciting. It's the NFL regular season kickoff. As always, Mo, we appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us on Something's Gotta Give here on To Be Determined.
NFL next week, baby.
Welcome to Saturdays in Canada with Blackhawk West. Blackhawk West, we've got a special CFL Saturday because it lasts all Labor Day long.
We sure do. In fact, this special CFL Saturday is clearing the way for college football to be the star on Saturday, because CFL this weekend goes Sunday. Then we got Monday. We actually got a noon central kickoff on Monday. And then we have another late game, or we have a mid-afternoon game at 3:30. But this game that's happening on Sunday, I have circled this since kickoff. The very first week of the CFL on Sunday, we got Sask against Winnipeg. This is what I think could be a preview of the Grey Cup. And it's going to be a great one. And it's Sunday, so you'll be able to catch it at just a couple hours before that Notre Dame, Florida State game that everybody's looking forward to. But this CFL game I've had circled for quite a while.
All right, let me grab my Easy Sports data, which for the first time in its history has almost all teams have 4 games. Not all of them, but some of them do. And they all have 3, though. Some of them have 4 because they do that by. So there's 9 teams, guys. Remember, if you're not a CFL fan, then you're not cashing tickets on the CFL. Here's what happens. When you win, they cash the ticket the same way on Canadian football that they do on college football, same way they do on NFL football. So if you want to cash tickets, this is really where the place to be, and we're talking Canadian football. But the beauty of it is when I look at the data, it allows me to see some things. So for the first time, I get to play along with you, Wes, and I tell you, I couldn't be more excited.
I love it. I love that the Easy Sports data is doing CFL. We've been talking about it for so many years, and it's a really reliable bunch of statistics you got there.
So let's look at where you've been now. So we know the first week, like anything, when you don't have something for a year, you tiptoe in. So we tiptoed in, and the water was still really cold, wasn't it, that first week?
That first week, the water was cold, and I think it was not just the first week, but we got into the second week where it was, I think the first 6 or 7 games were all dogs, and a majority of them were dog outright winners. But we're settling in now. We're seeing some favorites settle into where they should. The quarterbacks are settling in. Little COVID disruption last week, but it's now looking like what I thought the CFL would look like.
And you had a couple of those money line dogs. So, I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing. But when we cash tickets, or that's what we do, we cash tickets. However, and I tell people all the time, I don't always kind of worry about how much money. I worry about my ticket cashing percentage. If I got 15 tickets in my hand, I mean, I left for Del Mar last week with 12 tickets to cash. I hit the exacted, the try, the super. No, I hit the exact and the try. I hit the double. I had wheeled the exact and try and separate tickets. So I had like 12 tickets. When you're cashing tickets, things are better because you're not tight. You're not going to make stupid gambling mistakes. You're not chasing for sure because you're playing again either with house money or your original stake. And really, if you could take $100, let it roll all weekend and end up with $95, and you think that's a bad weekend, you probably are watching the wrong show. You really are. So let's talk about the last couple of weeks. You've done really well.
Yeah, we have. Last night that we had a game. We went 4-0 just on a random college game. But the second week of the CFL, we found a game where we were able to go 6-0 in the same game. That ended up being an 11-2 week. So we're sitting right now around 68% on the CFL. The first week was a little rough. Last week was a 3-1 week, that includes some live action play. But CFL's been red hot.
Well, with me and with most people that understand the whole concept of it's called gambling for a reason, you're dealing with a situation where when the water is a little chilly in the beginning of any season, you want to go in, but this is not any season. This is the weirdest 2 years of our lives. And so I'm thinking if I'm going to lose, I want to lose when I'm going in with little units. I don't want to lose with regular units.
And only you can define what your unit is. We preach portfolio management. I'm 151 sports investing, so we treat it just like a stock portfolio. And you balance your risk reward exactly where you need to be, and you put a certain amount in certain places. And I try, you keep your unit size where you're comfortable, and you got to keep live action money free to either dig yourself out of a hole or get in on something that's just running away and going to keep cashing all game. And we've all seen that game where you just can't get enough money in it because this team is going to keep scoring.
No, they do. They tease you too. They throw the number up there, and you've got to click 3 times, but between the 3 times, it doesn't always get there. When we come back, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about some plays. But before we go, give me 30 seconds, the best thing that happened with you betting Canadian football last weekend.
Last weekend, looking at the Winnipeg game, they were down late, and they were down to where they were no longer a favorite. And I was able to jump on them with the money line. Didn't have to lay any points. They ended up coming back. I went into the game with nothing because I wasn't quite sure they were going to cover the initial spread. Winnipeg turned around, won the game in about under 7 minutes to go. They actually missed the field goal, but then there was a penalty which pulled them back 10 yards, at which time they made the field goal that cashed for us.
So they missed on a shorter kick? I did not see the end of that game.
They missed on a shorter kick, but it was a procedure penalty that got moved backwards.
So that was a situation where if you had caught us last Thursday's Sports Betting Weekly, you would have heard him say and I should probably get a clip and play the clip, to walk away from that game because it moved from 5 to 5.5. It ended up going up to, I think, 7.5. Did it not?
It got up there. I think it ended up kicking off around 6, 5.5 or 6, but it was all over the place. But either way, we caught a money line. We didn't have to lay any points on the game. We caught them down in a money line, and it was surprising because it was all field goals for Winnipeg, no touchdowns.
Wow. All right. So when we get back from break, we're going to talk Sunday and Monday in Canada. You're listening to Saturdays in Canada with Blackhawk West on To Be Determined.
EasySportsData.com. The books use data, shouldn't you too? And this is Easy Sports Data, like the preschoolers use. EasySportsData.com.
Welcome back to Saturdays in Canada. Of course, this weekend, it's Sundays and Mondays in Canada, too. I guess that Labor Day thing, they take it really serious north of the border, do they? Don't they, Blackhawk West?
Well, they do, and I'm glad they do, because we're getting a doubleheader on Monday. We're getting a game on Sunday, and we're getting a doubleheader on Monday. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm glad. Oh, Canada.
Well, honestly, the people that scheduled this, I don't want to call them brilliant, but it's just the common sense of staying away from the first Saturday college football. There are 80-something games on the schedule. And then you got Sunday with no NFL. And then Monday, I never understood how they took. First of all, Labor Day used to be, I think, Tennessee and somebody, or it was a rivalry game. You know, they might not even be in the same conference the teams that played back then. But no, Kentucky. It was Kentucky, Tennessee, because I remember they had the chubby quarterback a long time ago. Kentucky had the little heavy set quarterback, Lorenzo something maybe. I'm not good with names, but
I remember.
So there's like one game this Monday, and so now with the CFL, we got action. And we're going to sit and listen to you for the next 4 minutes. Talk to us.
All right. Well, I said it earlier. I've had this game circled, the Sunday game, the Winnipeg and Sask game. I've had it circled since before the season even kicked off. Winnipeg is the returning Grey Cup champion. Sask, was probably a second or a third favorite to win the whole thing, and they should be. They got the highest paid player, best player in the CFL, Cody Fajardo. This guy is a real dual threat quarterback. He's running. He's laser sharp with his accuracy, and the Sask defense is feeding off of it. So I didn't expect the spread to be where it is when I circled this game preseason, but watching the football the last couple weeks, it does make sense. Winnipeg is not scoring points the way that they did last year. They're also, they just got Andrew Harris back, a potential future Hall of Fame running back. They just got him back. They're going to slow the game down a little bit, or at least they're going to try to. The spread is 4.5. Winnipeg is not truly scoring a ton of points. They've scored 23 this year, but for the most part, their defense is doing it for them. That defense is going to have a hard time against Cody Fajardo for Sask. Winnipeg's going to need to put up at least 24 points, which, again, that would top their season high in order to keep pace with Sask. Sask is coming off a bye. 2 weeks ago, they had a terrible game. I mean, it was the worst I've seen them look all year, and they won by 13. So I'm laying the 4.5. I'm taking Saskatchewan. Right now, they look like the absolute best team in the CFL, driven by the quarterback. Their defense is feeding off of it, and their running game is benefiting from the way that this quarterback looks. It is truly unreal.
All right, so that's the one game on Sunday.
That's the one game on Sunday. So laying 4.5, taking Sask.
On Monday.
So Monday, we're looking at Toronto against Hamilton. Hamilton started the season 0-2, and they weren't looking very good. Their first game was a rematch of the Grey Cup. They were playing against Winnipeg, and Winnipeg. I believe it was a matchup thing. Also, Hamilton's had some roster moves, so that's an adjustment to start the season. And then game 2 of the season, they played Sask. So they looked good last week. Evans gave them a little boost at quarterback. I don't know if we're going to see Evans or Masoli at quarterback either, or Evans gave them a nice boost. But it's only 2 points to lay going against Toronto, and 2 points is an easy number to lay, even in the CFL. Even if that rouge happens in the end, or you get a single in the closing seconds, Hamilton's going to cover 2 points. I'd be surprised if they won by less than a touchdown going against Toronto. This last week was the start of a major turn for them. Hamilton is a playoff team, and they're just going to start a little run now.
Okay, so let me cover those real quick. So what we got, the first game, we got a team that's never scored less than 23 playing a team that's never scored more than 23. That one I like. And the next game, you've got a team, Toronto, that everybody scores 20 on them.
Everybody scores 20 on them, and again, you got two very capable quarterbacks. Hamilton has a far better wide receiving core than what they've shown this year.
And then finally, Monday afternoon, depends on where you are, right? It says it's 6 o'clock East Coast. That's 3 o'clock out here. Let's see. What will I be doing? This is Monday. This is Monday, Labor Day. Oh, you know what? I think I'll probably be turning the grill on for the second time that day.
Attaboy.
So the pool's across the street is it's like say street, it's the sidewalk. I got to walk like 9 feet to get to my pool, but the grill is right at my house. So I'm looking forward to that. What do we like?
So this is an interesting game. This is Edmonton against Calgary, and Edmonton was the COVID team last week. They had 9 to 11 of their players test positive for COVID. So this one is going to be a little interesting. But Calgary, Edmonton is a 6-point dog in this game, and I truly believe it's because of some unanswered questions related to COVID. The last time Edmonton took the field, which was 2 weeks ago, so they're essentially coming off of a bye week. But the last time they took the field, they completely shut down a very good BC quarterback. That defense looked great. The offense was playing very well. James Wilder Jr., potentially the best, or if not one of the top running backs in the CFL. He's good for 100 every game, which in the CFL, 100 yards rushing, that's a big deal. They're getting 6 points. Calgary, a couple weeks ago, and I've been a fan of Calgary just as a team because I really enjoy Bo Levi Mitchell. He's injured. A couple weeks ago, a new quarterback gave them new energy, and they grinded out a win. And they hung 28. But again, everybody hangs 20 plus on the Als. So looking at this game, I am taking the points, and I'm taking Edmonton, and I'm also going to have probably a half or a quarter unit on Edmonton money line. Calgary has really struggled to score, other than who you pointed out, against the Als, who everybody scores on. So they're playing with a second-string quarterback, and the way that Edmonton defense made Riley look very basic with BC, I think that this second-string quarterback, Mayer, for Calgary is going to have a very hard time. I'm blown away. If not for the COVID situation last week, Edmonton would probably be a 3 to a 5 point favorite in this game.
There we go. We got 3 teams for this week's Saturday in Canada, aka weekends in Canada. Blackhawk West, as always, we appreciate your time, buddy.
Yeah, always be cashing.
You can get championship footballs at championshipfootballs.com. They offer a 100% money back guarantee on every single souvenir football that they sell. It's the coolest present that they'll open that day, guaranteed. There's nothing worse than trying to find the right gift for somebody that already has everything. Whether that special present is for a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan or an Alabama Crimson Tide backer, maybe Gramps, a lifelong Dallas Cowboys supporter, or your brother-in-law is in LSU Tiger territory. Know a member of the Baylor Alumni Association? Is there a better Father's Day gift for someone who's a Kansas City Chiefs fan? Send them the coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. Now, if your favorite pro team is the Buffalo Bills or those Minnesota Vikings, well, we're sorry about that. Also, if you're a New Mexico State Aggie or a Tulane Green Wave alum, not much they can do. After all, the name isn't nice effort, you had a pretty good season footballs.com. The name is championshipfootballs.com. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed.
Welcome to Paolo's Plays here on To Be Determined. Now, it's so funny because really, Paolo, I look at you not as much for your soccer plays, but about how you can educate us in soccer, because if you were born in America and you're following football and baseball and basketball and hockey like most kids born in America do, you don't necessarily appreciate how great soccer is. But you know what? Over the last 2-3 years with you, when we first started, we didn't talk a lot on soccer. Now you and I, we talk soccer almost exclusively.
I know. And last week we had another big week in soccer. It started off with that game that we lost with Juventus because I didn't know Ronaldo was getting traded. I mean, Juventus right now is just, they definitely need help. But then on Sunday, we just came through with Barcelona. AC Milan was a blowout, and both games came through. So, like, another winning week.
No, and just so you know, the parlay with those two teams paid little more than even money. Now, these are both, they were both negative 200. But if you put it together in a parlay, and that was actually my biggest bet of the weekend last weekend, was because I knew whenever you have a team that draws or loses 1-0 like that, your other bets almost always fly. And of course, Barcelona won. They won 2-1, but that was a W. And then, of course, the AC game was so easy.
Well, yeah, AC Milan, like I said, that was going to be a blowout. And like I said, as you see in soccer, one player makes such a difference, and that Ronaldo effect. Because if I know that Juventus doesn't have Ronaldo, because last year, Juventus, the guy that was bailing them out almost in every game was Ronaldo. Right now, there's no Ronaldo. So who's going to score goals? Dybala's not going to score goals. I mean, the team needs somebody. They need a world-class forward to score goals.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do is, I told you, I don't know if it was you. Were you the one to turn me on to Flash Score, or did I just kind of stumble across them on my own? I don't remember. Was it you?
No, I think, I told you about Flash Score. Yeah. And we
so
started after.
What I love about Flash Score, and I tell people all the time, they cover every game for every team in every sport in the world, in the entire world. But I do know that soccer is right now going into a different time because a lot of these games were just the second game that they played. So where are we? Where are we in the soccer season right now?
Right now, this week, what we're going to do is there's some World Cup qualifiers. So this week, we're moving to a new dimension, national teams. National teams are more difficult to predict because, like, the players coming in, this and that. But I think I have some good plays this week on the national level. I don't really...
So what you're saying is that when you're playing on the team that pays you, you could then, two teammates could go and play against each other because they go back and play for their home country.
Exactly. That's why these national games are difficult to predict because they're qualifying for the World Cup next year in Qatar. So this week, that's all there is. Mostly there's some Brazilian soccer and there's some those World Cup qualifiers. So what we can do is I can give out some World Cup qualifiers that I see that these teams, I don't see these teams losing. And one team is actually being bet really, really heavy from what I checked today. And one Brazilian game.
So let me ask you about these World Cup qualifiers. They break them into pools, right? And you got to play like 4 teams.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they break them into pools, and I think the first 2 qualify, or the first one qualifies. So basically, every game means something. They're going all out.
Right, because you if you don't win, you don't play in the World Cup next year.
Exactly. And you saw what I did in the Euro again this year and the last World Cup and everything. I mean, women's and all that. So like next year for us is going to be a big betting season with the World Cup in November in Qatar. I mean, that's going to be like huge.
You had one year where you went like, I don't know, like 20 something and 1, I think, or something like that.
27 and 3 at the World Cup. Yeah. 27 and 3. Because you can really, the thing is that there you really see the teams, this and that. These qualifiers, it's just that sometimes, like these specific games that I have studied I think all 3 games should pass. But sometimes things happen. But I believe that we should have a good week this week too.
All right, so I'm looking at the qualifiers, and they go on for a while. How many months? Do you know how long?
Oh, they're going to go on for a while, even in the summer. I mean, they're going to go on. So like now, like this week is a big week in the qualifying because people want to the teams want to get a head start. So it's a big week, a very big week this week.
Well, yeah. If only two teams make it, and then they use goals, right? Goals is the tiebreaker.
Yeah, goals and everything. So basically, we're looking at that's why these qualifiers are so hard to predict, because even though the other team is weak, but something can just happen, and then all of a sudden you say to yourself, "Well, it just came," but it came, So that's what we're looking at.
We remember what we're talking about too. The World Cup dwarfs Super Bowl. Everybody talks about the Super Bowl.
No.
The World Cup dwarfs it. It's like 10 times the revenue bet on the World Cup around the world than there is on the Super Bowl. So it'll be fun to watch games.
Those games for us in that month. I mean, I think that because my record, I've never had a bad World Cup or a bad Euro. I mean, we should clean out like we do usually at everything and make most of our money. I mean, I think the World Cup is going to be a gold mine like it was for the Euro. The Euro was a gold mine. I'm
going to assume so until I see you have a losing year. So when we get back, we're going to be talking about some games out there, and maybe maybe Paulo will give us a play or two. You're listening to Paulo's Plays on To Be Determined.
EasySportsData.com. The books use data. Shouldn't you too? And this is easy sports data, like the preschoolers use. EasySportsData.com.
Welcome back to Paulo's Plays on To Be Determined. Now remember, what To Be Determined is all about is when you wake up. I'm in San Diego. It's not even 9 o'clock here on a Saturday. I have no idea how my weekend's going to be. It's still to be determined, but with a little help from Paulo and Blackhawk Wes and Mo and Chris from MD's Fantasy Show this week, we're cashing tickets. We know we're cashing tickets. We just got to figure out where we're cashing tickets. So, Paulo, talk to us on some of the plays you're looking at.
One of the plays that I'm looking at this week in the Euro qualifiers, I mean, I don't see Serbia this week having any difficulty with the team they're playing against, even though the odds are low. But like you always say, if the game continues and you follow, like the Portugal game yesterday opened up at 1.24. And towards the end of the game, you saw what the odds are. So odds mean nothing. It just winners. So I like Serbia this week to win. I really like them very much to win. Another play that I like, that even though they're playing on the road, but I think that Norway is about to break through, because Norwegian soccer, national soccer, was really, really good. But they've had some lean years. But now with the World Cup qualifying coming, even though the odds are low again, I like Norway. Another play that I like a lot, and this week, even going into Cyprus, I think that the Russians are right now are 1.42, which in this type of game is pretty good value. And I like Russia to go into Cyprus and get the win. And one game from Brazil, I like Flamengo to win. So these are the plays that I like this week. Oh, and one other play that is very interesting game. Greece is playing Kosovo. Kosovo is a very hostile environment. Greece going in. Greece right now is trading at 2.22. What I see in this game, I cannot predict at the moment who's going to win this game, but I think the way that the Greek national team is set up with the coaching and everything, I don't see Greece losing this game. I definitely like the draw no bet, because I think Greece will not lose this game. They will either win, or if you take the Asian handicap, you'll get your money back. That's what I like.
And let's talk about a couple things and remind folks, when you're talking about European betting, here in America, we would say, they're minus 220 or they're minus 240 or minus 180,
Right.
whatever the number is. But in Europe, that's not what they do. They use a multiplier effect.
Exactly.
So it's 1.4. So you get 1.4 back for your money.
Exactly. But you see, what happens is in soccer, all the big bettors, like you said it yourself, they bet big money. Like my client, he puts big money on a game that he knows that, so if he's hitting like at the percentage that I'm hitting, even if he loses 5-6 plays a month, he's still making money. So, and especially with the live play, you see what happens most of the time. These small odds, all of a sudden, they blow up.
Yeah, and the other thing is you mentioned is the draw no bet. Well, again with football, we got a big football, college football this weekend, big NFL football next weekend. There's not three-way betting in that sport. You're betting team A or you're betting team B. But in soccer, there's three-way betting. Explain that a little bit.
Yeah, you see, in soccer, there's the draw, the win, or the other team to win. But the draw no bet is a very, very good bet, because if you look at the Greece game this week, the odds on Greece are 2.22. So let's say Greece doesn't win and draws. They're probably, I haven't checked to see what their odds are on the draw no bet, probably at 1.8, 1.7. So if somebody wants to take the safe way, they take the Greeks to win, draw no bet, or they take the Greeks on the Asian handicap at 0. So if it's a draw, you get your money back.
You get your money back, exactly.
Yeah.
And
So
then the Asian handicap is a different way of wagering. There's no doubt about it. Because you take half your money goes to one bet and half goes to another.
Yeah, and the thing is that most of the big players use the Asian handicap, especially the Asians down in Asia. That's all they do. Bet Asian handicap. And the thing is with this Greek game this week, Greece will score a goal. I do not see Kosovo having a clean sheet. The odds I haven't checked. They haven't been printed. But imagine in the 70th minute, like you say all the time, things happen, and the goal scored in the 70th minute. There you go. So with the live play, soccer is lucrative. It's like the football. Remember that game with the Falcons? They were playing San Francisco, and I told you the Falcons going to win that game, and they came back with a comeback like amazing odds. We have also hit some big odds in football in the live play.
No doubt about it. But without a doubt, the when you could see a team that was minus 230 to start the game, and now because it's 1-1, you get them at plus 200. It's a 400-point swing, and then boom, 77th minute they score, and a lot of times they score again and make it 3-1. So it really is the last 10 minutes of a soccer game. But I love what you're saying about the bet, and I do that bet again, that safe bet, which is the no, because again, if you got a big favorite, the Asian handicap makes sense because it lowers the odds, and normally you're going to be okay. But there's nothing worse than losing on a draw, especially if it's the last play of a parlay. And of course, normally most books are not going to allow parlays with the Asian handicap, but for a straight bet, it's definitely the way to go.
Yeah, because if you really look at it, yesterday, that Portugal game, I mean, come on, there's 2 minutes left. And my clients, I told them the Portugal game, because like I said, I have that he only bets one play a week, one guaranteed winner. And the game is in the 88th minute, and Portugal is losing. And then in 3 minutes, bang, bang.
Yep.
You could imagine.
Really, it's amazing. Now, don't get me wrong. A normal fan, sports betting fan here in America is going to say, well, it was 2-1. Who wants to watch a 2-1 game? Well, it was probably the most exciting 2-1 game you've ever could watch.
Of course, with the last minute, there was like seconds left and the winning goal was scored. Yeah, like look at Nicaragua. Remember one game that you were following in Nicaragua with 10 seconds left? Odds were like, I don't even know what the odds were. And FC Managua. And Managua scores a goal and wins the game?
Yep. It was, I think it was 8 or 12-1, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, and they were a big favorite. So this is the thing with soccer. You can't look at the odds. You got to look at how the game's going to go.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about it. So what we'll do is we'll plan on again watching those plays. Again, these are you're kind of digging for plays this week. We understand that. However, we've talked before. We talked a lot during the pandemic, and there was times where you said, you know what, I don't really like anything. Let me see what I can find, and you would go 6-1. So
yeah. By next week, we return to normal because everything next week it's back to normal games. And I have a play next week that you're gonna be surprised with this play, and this play is gonna pay us. It didn't pay us, but this play will pay us because I have a funny feeling that this play is definitely gonna come out. I don't know yet what the odds will be, but I have it.
Yeah, one of the things that I've noticed too is after a team that you give us loses, coming back with them the next time, they almost always play up to speed. They really do. All right, buddy.
Okay, nice talking to you, and we'll talk next week. Okay.
Welcome to Wake and Bake on To Be Determined. Now, again, if you're in New York watching this, it's 11:45, but out here in San Diego, it ain't even 9 o'clock yet. And that's one of the reasons when you got 80 games on a weekend, having marijuana legal is real important. Now, Chris is joining us. Now, Chris, we haven't actually been on the air together since the last DC show. Now, you told me this year you're rebranding, correct?
Yeah, we're actually going to be switching over, and we'll do a show on Fridays with MD Sports, and MDs is going to be taking over Saturday nights as well.
Yep. And you and Dan have been on some weeks 2, 3, 4 times a week recently.
Yeah, we've been on about twice a week. We do Thursday and Friday shows, and then we're going to pick it up a notch starting in the regular season, and they'll be on about 4 times a week. And then also, you can hear us on the radio now as well.
Yeah, and I look so forward to those Saturdays. I have so much fun. First of all, I get to be a guest, so I don't have to forget to hit the record button or put the banners up or do any of the production work that you have to do to make your show look good. But we just have so much fun. And I mean, you guys kick some serious butt with the basketball. So I'm assuming the football, we're going to just take over where we left off last year with doing nothing but cashing tickets. But
let's always try to cash those tickets. That's right, Chaz.
About Wake and Bake. Now, you're in Pennsylvania, correct? Is it legal there?
Recreational is not legal. Only medical marijuana currently. One of the senators, Dan Leach, is trying to lead a campaign to try to make it legalized recreationally. Hopefully, New Jersey recently has a PA. Hopefully, it'll be on the way soon.
We went through that phase, and it was so funny because for the longest time, I had to go to the dispensary with Tommy, and Tommy's been on our show before. He's one of our founding members, and he's a great friend. We just went up and watched the Yankee Angels because he's a Yankee fan up in Anaheim Stadium. So we had a good time, but I had to sit in the car because I was not allowed in because I didn't have a medical card. And the first time that I was allowed in is when California passed it and it became recreational was legal. Well, oh my goodness gracious, the first time I ever went to a dispensary, it was like going into one of those Christmas stores during the holiday season, It was like, oh my goodness, look at there, over there. So have you any kind of estimate of when the recreational will get passed?
Well, they're talking about it hopefully next year. Like I said, the Senator Dan Leach is trying to lead a campaign as soon as possible to try to get on the books. Right now, there's sort of transition to the medical. We're having more and more dispensaries being built in the area. So I think they're going to probably transition if the medical is kind of established more so, and then try to push through recreational. So you kind of see it as kind of the new norm around the country.
It's hard because you're dealing with politicians. And if you're an American citizen and you've paid attention for the last, 100 years or so, politicians aren't always the best people to get the job done. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. So you just could hope because you're just giving money away. It's amazing. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not sure how the taxing is on the medicinal because on the recreational, it's a pretty steep tax. It's like 30 points on $1, man. You know, we complain about the sports book taking our money. The government taking our money too. Did you get a chance to see the poll that we put up?
I have not.
It basically said, choose one of four. The first one was no THC for me, for people that don't imbibe. There was second was sativa, third one was indica, and the fourth one was pretty much whatever you got's good by me. How would you answer that?
I think whatever you got's good by me. I don't think that in particular, there's all kinds of different pills out there. There's all kinds of different medicines out there. So why not all kinds of options when it comes to this?
No, exactly. And that's my choice too, I wanted to, on the poll, you can only put so many words. I wanted to put, if you're buying, I'm high or something. I'm high, but couldn't fit it all. So I went with whatever you got. So yeah, and that's kind of where we're at, because the whole indica is the kind of thing you want to chill. And really, if you think about it, if you're waking up as early as I have to be up on Saturday mornings, the football games start at 9 a.m. So if I haven't done all my handicapping, and even if I did, you know what? If you've got to get your bets in, you want to make sure you don't rush. Because as you know, if you rush, you click on the wrong team. It happens almost all the time. I'm lucky enough that I've had money in my account when I've screwed up like that, so I could just double up the other way. And, it's the 6 of one, half dozen the other. I'm basically, hedging half the bet to get my original bet back. But it really helps to have those choices, because I don't know if you want to be, popping some indica gummy bears at 7 a.m. if you're trying to get up and get all your plays in. So it really does, I think, the type of THC that you're dealing with, it really does impact how your Saturdays go. But that's really what to be determined, TBD is all about. It's you wake up Saturday morning and because you bet you could, your whole week could change if you catch 4 or 5 winners in a row and you were smart enough to parlay them. So let's talk about some of these games on Saturday, and we'll start with one of them, and then we'll come back after break and we'll finish up, and we'll see if you could string 3 of them together. So what's your first game?
I'm looking at the USC San Jose State game. USC is only favored by 14 points going into this game. USC, had a pretty decent season last year. They were 5-1. They returned a lot of their starters. San Jose State was a nice story last year, but I don't think when it comes to talent-wise, they really can't hold the candle to USC. So I expect USC to not only beat the 14-point spread, I expect them to surpass it by almost double-digit touchdowns. So I think it's going to be close to about 20 to 30 points they're going to win by.
Yeah, and if you saw us Thursday on Sports Betting Weekly, we talked about the game only because the both teams are coming back fairly quickly, and it's tough. I mean, Thursday night, one of those two teams that played, Southern Utah, came back and played, and so it's tough when you're coming into a place like USC, because if you know West Coast football, there's some guys on San Jose State that didn't get it. USC didn't want them, so they ended up at San Jose State. That's kind of how the world works out here on the West Coast. You got USC, you got UCLA, and you got Stanford. And Stanford's tough, of course, for the kids to get into. So it really is a game where they should be probably given more than 14, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I imagine so. Like I said, I know San Jose State had a decent season last year. People seem to underestimate USC because they only played about 6 or 7 games, I believe, last year with the whole COVID issue. But they still were 5-1 in those games. They're still one of the better teams in the Pac-12. So I think overall, like I said, I think USC is going to run big on this game, and I think that would expect that they would win by at least like 20 to 30 points. Like I said, I think it's definitely going to surpass the 14 spread right now. So I'd bet on that.
I would agree with you 100%. So when we come back from break, we're going to finish up with Chris's other plays. You're listening to Wake and Bake. And hopefully everything's going well with you if you're following the name of the show on To Be Determined. We'll be right back.
You can get championship footballs at championshipfootballs.com. They offer a 100% 100% money back guarantee on every single souvenir football that they sell. It's the coolest present that they'll open that day, guaranteed. There's nothing worse than trying to find the right gift for somebody that already has everything. Whether that special present is for a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan or an Alabama Crimson Tide backer, maybe Gramps is a lifelong Dallas Cowboys supporter, or your brother-in-law is in LSU Tiger territory. Know a member of the Baylor Alumni Association? Is there a better Father's Day gift for someone who's a Kansas City Chiefs fan? Send them the coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. Now, if your favorite pro team is the Buffalo Bills or those Minnesota Vikings, well, we're sorry about that. Also, if you're a New Mexico State Aggie or a Tulane Green Wave alum, not much they can do. After all, the name isn't nice effort, you had a pretty good season footballs.com. The name is championshipfootballs.com. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed.
Welcome back to Wake and Bake on To Be Determined. And it's a little before 9 out here in Southern California, but thank God the Urban Leaf Dispensary opens at 7 a.m. So we're good to go for a big Saturday of football. We got Chris from the MD Fantasy Show on Belly Up Fantasy Sports. Now, you mentioned the radio. Tell us more about Unhinged.
Yeah, Unhinged Radio recently got bought out by Belly Up Sports, so they have a lot of different shows that we're kind of featuring now, and MD is lucky enough to be one of those shows. We're on, I think, almost every day of the week now. Dan explaining to me that we're probably going to be even more increasing throughout the day, so you can catch us, whether it's in the morning, afternoon, or even in the evening. We're always available. Yeah,
and you guys did such a great job this year covering the draft and your fantasy updates for your players and your teams. It really is, it's like educational radio. I'm not sure if it's PBS, but it's darn close, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we're trying to get you to inform, just like you try to help people cash those tickets. We're trying to help you win those fantasy leagues.
Yep. So let's talk about another game. You're on the West Coast with another one of your games, right?
Yeah, I'm going to stick to local area, and I'm looking at that UCLA game and LSU game. LSU's only favored by 3. LSU had a kind of a struggle last year. Their defense was horrible. They made a lot of changes in the offseason, brought in a whole different defensive coaching staff. The offense returned some good players. And you look what UCLA kind of did. Chip Kelly's second run in Pac-12 hasn't really paid off like you'd hope it for. They've been struggling the last couple of years. They lost a couple of key players in the draft this year. So I think LSU's once again definitely going to cover the spread. I think they're going to win by at least a touchdown, if not more. I think this game is very, very being underestimated when it comes to the bettors. I can't believe LSU's only favored by 3.
Yeah, you know what? I remember quite vividly the Marcus Mariota years and Oregon at its finest. And I remember they had a guy get hurt right before one of the big playoff games. And his replacement, it was like 3rd and 7 for Oregon early in the game. And his replacement got hit right in the belly button and he dropped the ball. They had a punt and it was never the same. But his Oregon teams were exciting. He hasn't really gotten there at UCLA, but he's in a point where these are his guys now. He's been there long enough. These are his guys. It's so hard though, Chris, with that COVID situation to really hold that against anybody. It's almost like it's like you got to like a mulligan. It's like you got to take a mulligan. Like in golf, you got to pick up the ball and start again. That's all you can do.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of ways you're right, but I also think that Chip's been there about 3 years now, and he's one of the coaches in the hot seat that has to kind of turn that program around. I think UCLA expects a lot more, and they thought they paid this guy to do a lot more than he has been. So I think the program itself's a little frustrated where they are, even with the COVID situation.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you 100%. Okay, let's look at one more game from you.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the Sunday game. One of the other games is Notre Dame versus Florida State. Florida State had a really tough year last year. They only won 3 games. Notre Dame is ranked number 9 in the country. They did lose their quarterback at Ian Book. They did lose a couple playmakers and the running back in the backfield. But overall, this Notre Dame team still stacked. And comparable to Florida State's talent level, I just think this is going to be a no-brainer. The Notre Dame's going to once again cover the spread at least and win by double digits. I think that Florida State really has struggled last kind of adjusting to the new coaching staff, the new system. And they played, a nice feel-good story having Milton, the quarterback Milton, who played for UCF a couple of years ago where he tore his ACL on senior year, has a chance to redshirt kind of a senior year and extend his career. I mean, I love the guy. I hope he does well, but I think overall it's just not the same talent. And I think their game runs wild on this game.
Yeah, I mean, the dude won 25 straight games, I think, at one point. That franchise. So the UCF team, and it really is. Jimbo Fisher, boy, he made the right move, huh? They couldn't.
Yeah, he got out just in time.
Woo! And he got the big payout. So good for him. Yeah, you know what? Notre Dame is what they do. First of all, whether they're in a conference or not, they still play the kind of schedule that allows them to be 10-0, 11-0 coming into that big game. And then they pretty much have folded flat when the game's counted at the end. But I kind of agree with you that in the beginning of the season, they're beating the teams that they're supposed to beat. The guys, I forget, it's Brian something, the coach at Notre Dame. I don't do names, as you know. I'm not a person.
Yeah, Brian Kelly.
He's done a great job there. He's got a great winning percentage. The kids are graduating and stuff, but Notre Dame has 11 national championships, and the last one, I don't think my kids were born. So it's been a long, long time. I think that's another guy that he might be looking over Chip Kelly's shoulders if he doesn't get to another national championship. But we'll see. So anything else you can add for this weekend?
No, I'm definitely excited to have football back. It definitely feels much different this round than versus last year's college football season. Last year, you had, like I said, it seems like USC only played 6 games. So it's really exciting to see they kind of start off everybody kind of healthy for the most part. Most of the teams have done a good job of getting vaccinated. And I think that's exciting to see football's back.
And so you and I will talk this week on Wake and Bake here on To Be Determined. And then hopefully, if everything goes well, next Saturday night, I'll get to see you for the first time on Unhinged Radio.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Yeah, help our viewers cash those tickets, Chaz.
Yeah. Well, you know what? If you cash tickets, you could pay that 30% tax on marijuana.
There you go. Exactly. You can afford it. Right. Bacon and have some money in your pocket.
Exactly. Thanks again. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks a lot, Chaz.
Thanks again for watching To Be Determined. Remember, it's like 9 o'clock here in San Diego, noon in New York. The bottom line is you got your whole weekend ahead of you. Those guys gave you winners. I mean, every week, what I basically do, and I make one parlay with all their plays, 10, 11, 12, 15 of them, whatever it is, and I throw a few bucks on it because I'm telling you, one of these days, it'll hit. Mo didn't have a loser forever. Blackhawk West is great. Powell is the best soccer handicapper I've ever seen. And if you're not watching Saturday nights with Chris and Dan on Belly Up Fantasy, you're missing out a lot. I am second half Jazz. Always be cashing.